Welcome again. We are glad to be coming your way, people of the world. This is the Progressive Mind Show, where we build our community by engaging you and I in pertinent dialogue. We are blessed to be coming through this device to your homes, your locations, wherever you are. The show is live on Facebook, Progressive Minds. Also on YouTube is the Progressive Mind Show. We are glad to be carried on MyStar Radio out there in Washington, D.C. Very excited moment for the Progressive Minds, in addition to a lot that is going to be coming, so stay tuned. MyStar Radio is a Pan-African radio for the discerning listener. You can get MyStar Radio 24/7 online. 24/7 online, MyStar Radio, a Pan-African radio station, a Pan-African radio station for the discerning listener. We would want to talk to Captain Mike right after him. The people that are going to be, or the community folks that are going to be helping engage us in this diaspora conversation, they're ready, and I hope you are too. Stay tuned. We shall go straight to introducing our guest. After that, we would try and get to think of things. Hopefully, Captain Mike can come on then so we can take his judgment. If not, let's try and talk to our guest this evening. Deidre Coleman. Deidre Coleman is a researcher at Loyola University. Deidre, you're welcome to the Progressive Mind Show. And once we're done with the short intro, I would like you all to tell us a little bit about yourself. Next to Deidre, we have my own brother, my boss. Some years ago, he's still my boss. Kofi Jakwe. Kofi Jakwe is CEO of Blue. I have to look at the name. Is Blue Simba Incorporation. Kofi Jakwe, you're welcome to the Progressive Show. Great. And then Natalia is the station manager at Coffee Radio Station out there in Georgia. Natalia, you're welcome to the show.
Good night, y'all.
Excellent. And then we have my brother Saheed Odeyele. Saheed is the General Secretary of the Atlanta chapter, General Secretary for Nigerian in Diaspora Organization, the Atlanta chapter. Saheed, you're also welcome to the Progressive Mind Show.
Thanks, brother. A pleasure to be here. Good to meet you all.
Great. We are glad to be coming your way. As I stated, we're live right now on Progressive Minds. Please share the feed once you come on so your friends and our community folks can all partake in this. You can also catch us on YouTube. It's the Progressive Mind Show. Right now, live on MyStar Radio out there in Washington. MyStar Radio is the Pan-African radio station for the discerning listener. We will take this short break. When we come back, we would try and get to things. Welcome again, everyone. Today's verse of the day. We're going to go straight to Proverbs chapter 11, verses 10. It says, when the righteous prosper, the city rejoices. When the weak perish, there are shouts of joy. So take that into your pocket, ponder over it, and be good to one another. Right now, though, let's go to my panel members. We know we've done the introduction, but I still want to have a moment. I still want you all to tell us a little bit about yourselves, so our guests, so our audience can get to know you a little bit more. Let's start with Deidre. Deidre, I know you are with a researcher at Loyola University, but tell us a little bit, maybe in a few seconds, who Deidre Coleman represents. What do you represent?
Sure. Thank you, Steve. I'm excited to be a part of this conversation, and I have a background in education. I've worked as a teacher in CPS and also abroad. I also do have a background as a researcher. During my graduate studies at Loyola, I did research with the Center for the Human Rights of Children, and I also worked with the University of Chicago on projects related to social and emotional interventions, children's rights, and also social justice. And more recently, I began my work as a program manager for District 65 schools, and I'm also a songwriter.
Oh, you're a songwriter. Thank you so much for that brief introduction. Brother Saheed.
Yeah, again, good evening, everyone, and thanks for having me. I'm Saheed Adelaide by name, Nigerian by birth, of course, United States by nationality. Basically, I work with my local county here, which is Cobb County, and I also belong to the Nigerian Diaspora Organization, which is the only registered organization representing diasporas, on behalf of the Nigerian citizen. My background, of course, from college is about chemistry, but I've always been more of an entrepreneur. So I own my own entertainment company, which I'm basically building. And besides that, basically a businessman as well, just all about the trade. Thank you.
Thank you so much. Kofi Jakwe.
Yeah, hi. Thank you for having me on the show, Senna. My name is Kofi Jakwe, like he just said loudly. I'm sure everybody can hear my name. Yes, he knows my name. Yes, but I'm the CEO of Blue Simba. Blue Simba is a software development company. We're relatively new, but before I started Blue Simba, I worked in television and radio production for almost 15 years. Blue Simba is a software company that's focused on one small area. It's the small business community. We develop software products for the small business community. Mm-hmm. Over the years, what we've done is we brought a lot of software together on one platform. So if you go on there, you'll be able to register your business, market it, grow it, do your accounting, and everything else on platform, one centralized billing. That's basically what we do now.
That's great. Thanks for a brief introduction. Natalia, a little bit about who you are and what you represent.
Sure. My name is Natalia Stevenson. I am from Jamaica, and I actually live in Atlanta, Georgia. I wear multiple hats. I am actually an integration analyst with a company called Clearwave, which is a health IT company. I've also done work with the Center for Disease Control in meaningful use, and also a lot of research there. Part-time, I also work with a radio station called Coffee Radio. Please download our app and just check us out.
Great. Thank you so much for a great introduction. Friends, the conversation, I think we have Captain Mike here. My brother, looks like we may have to do this another time. We have got into, but okay, can you hear us now?
I think I got you. I think I'm in the right part of the house.
Okay, you do. Okay. If you do, you know what? You might have to be extremely quick for us today since we've gone past our time. So if you can just give us briefly what you have in terms of your bit of weather, sports, and health, that would help. You looks like you're wearing a jersey that looks like the Black Stars of Ghana. I don't know if that's what it is.
The Senegalese national team.
Senegalese national team. Okay, so you're just gonna do me like that? I thought you should be representing Ghana, bro. We're friends. All right, go ahead, bro.
All right, right now we have 76 degrees in Midway. Clouds are starting to come in, so you might see a few showers later tonight. It's definitely gonna cool off. So as the graphics department here, we spend a lot of money on our graphics. It's gonna be some gusty winds. You know that. Your hat's gonna blow off. Hold on. It's going to be higher and in mid-60s, so we're going to be a little cooler this week. And going into Saturday, still windy out of the south. Sunday, where are we there? We have a cold front moving in. It's definitely going to cool off. 45 degrees is our high. And the rest of the week, we're going to be in the mid-50s, lows in the 40s, and chance of rain each day. So next week, not going to be too great. In sports, not too much going on now. With the Fire is going to be at Minnesota United tonight, and we had a few friendlies out there. Soccer, Niger defeated Sierra Leone 1-0. Morocco and Congo 1-1. Nigeria, Tunisia 1-1. Mexico and Algeria 2-2 tie, and Panama defeated Costa Rica 1-0. And in our discussion about our health and fitness, we're going to talk about the difference between a cold and a flu. Which one do you have? Well, both are caused by viruses. And as Ms. Stevenson would know, she worked for the CDC. This information comes from cdc.gov. Cold symptoms are usually milder. Now, what happens with a cold? The onset is gradual. With the flu, it's pretty abrupt. Your fever, you don't have to get too many fevers with a cold. You do with the flu. As far as body aches, slight body aches with a cold, usual body aches with the flu. Chills, not too common with a cold. You do get them with the flu. Fatigue and weakness, you're going to get that with the flu. Sneezing, more common with the cold. Chest discomfort and stuffy nose, that's more common with your flu symptoms. A sore throat is common with colds, not too common with a with the flu, but bad headaches, that's usually a flu symptom and not a cold symptom. So put it all together. Flu symptoms, of course, are going to be a little bit more difficult to deal with, but always, always, always check with your healthcare professional. And next week, we'll talk about the differences between the common flu and the COVID, what to look for between the two, and when you should freak out and go to see a doctor, and when you think you might be okay with just the flu. So with that, Sina, we're going back to you, man.
Thank you. Thank you, my brother. And we are glad to be continuing with what we left off. My guests have been introduced. Looks like we have one in the background due to a few glitches. My brother Tyrone is just joining. Tyrone, can you hear us?
No doubt, brother. Thanks for having me.
All right, you're welcome. Tyrone is the Tyrone. Can you please introduce? Let us know who you are and what you represent in the community. I know you are the director of Ex-Cons, which is a program here in a program here in Chicago. It's a community and social change. Right. Please go ahead and expand a little bit on that so people can get to know who Tyrone Mohammed is.
Tyrone Mohammed, of course, executive director of ECCSC, that's Ex-Cons for community and social change. I served 21 years in prison, and while sitting in prison, watching the recidivism rate never being reduced for the young men and women coming in and out of prison that I saw, and I came to the conclusion that prison is not a place for reform. Prison is not a place of reformation and social justice. So, and watching and understanding that, and me having to be the mentor of over 200-300 young men at any given time, I say, you know what? It's clear. No benevolent white person, no pastor or politician are going to be able to change the condition that is prison, that is our community, because most of them have sold out, and they really misunderstand or unable to really understand the depths of what the prison industrial complex is and what are the issues that face our communities that cause the blight and the despair and all the negativity and the violence. So I said, you know what, we have to come together to create this for ourselves. Since the prisoners formerly incarcerated has the biggest voting bloc. Make no mistake about it. That's why they try to take our rights away for the exercise the right and the power of the vote. They have the biggest. Go ahead. You want?
Yeah, I wanted us. We probably will give you some time or have some, enough time to get into some of the details of your work and how you are impacting the city of Chicago, which is awesome. I have seen you do a whole bunch of things and actually see the formation of ECCSU from the grassroots, from the ground up. And I see the change that you're making. So we'll give it a chance to do that. In the meantime, can you tilt your phone sideways so we can have like a landscape?
Sure.
Yeah.
That's it.
There you go. Bam. Okay. Looks, this is awesome.
That's better?
Well, yeah, it's absolutely great. Now, guys, let's get into it. Historically, what has been the cause for the separation of Black people? Of course, history, tells all of us that Black people used to be on our home is the continent of Africa. Per events and per adventure, and however you would call it, we now find ourselves in the diaspora and across the globe with different styles, different cultures, and all of that. Let's zero in on specifically here in the diaspora. Let's say in the United States. Can we all maybe share some ideas of what we think, what we know of some historical facts that have distorted African people or Black people across the globe? And I'll start with the lady. And so, Natalia, if you want to start with us, then we can go to smiling. Are you ready for us to start, or you want to have Deidre start? They're fully here. We can go with either.
No, I'll go ahead. So most of the separation regarding like the Caribbean, United States, I'm going to say it's stereotype. Even though we're all Black, we tend to stereotype each other's. People stereotype Jamaicans. They think all Jamaicans wear, are dreads and we smoke marijuana, which is not the case. Yes, I do have dreads, but the reason why I have it is because I'm more aligned with the Rastafarians. So that's where my belief is. So I respect my dreads for the belief. And I wish other Americans and people who sport dreads would actually respect it for the belief behind it and not assume it as being smoking weed all day, getting high. No, that's not what we do.
Okay.
Just go ahead.
So you say people should not associate dreadlocks with, smoking of weed?
No, because not all Rastafarians smoke. I don't.
Okay, not all Rastafarians smoke weed. That is very insightful. I mean, what you just said, because I've always growing up in Africa, it's equal, right? You equal Rastafarianism to, weed smoking, and we've all known that. And so,
that's a misconception because you also have the Ethiopian Orthodox, which are also part of the you'd see it as the Rastafarian regime also, but they have nothing to do with smoking marijuana.
Okay. The issue of the diaspora conversation has always been lurking in our communities, in our homes, in our offices, at community events. We chit-chat about each other. Caribbeans, Africans, African-Americans, to a larger extent, Afro-Latina. We all have these misconceptions about each other. We all have this, apprehension towards each other. And there's this friction. And so we've thought that, and we do have this is not the first time, okay? And this is not like a new thing. These conversations, these dialogues go on day to day, with us. We just want to make it open to the point where we can publicly say the things that we don't like about each other, or the things that we suspect or think of each other. And in doing that, we may come to a point where our communities can be fluidly, integrate and coexist and support each other the way we ought to. And that's why this dialogue is very, very important. And so if you're on Facebook, please help share the feed. YouTube as well is the Progressive Mind Show. You can right now listen to us on MyStar Radio out there in Washington. MyStar Radio is a Pan-African radio station for the discerning listener. Now, let me get from Saeed what you think has been some of the historical facts or factors that has affected the separation of Black people in the diaspora.
Yeah, Alinco, I can't overemphasize how important this conversation is. And again, thank you for championing this. So I like to start first by defining the different categories that I personally, categorize diaspora and Africans. Identify that they're diaspora and Africans migrated on the grounds of, economic, empowerment. There are those who actually migrated on the grounds of self-will, basically just deciding to find a better environment where structure is. Now, when you consider all of this, it's very clear that, colonization, which obviously happened in most part of Africa as well, has a fundamental root as to how individuals were built up and the background of families before coming into the diaspora. Now, when you consider that compared with whatever culture and whatever lifestyle we meet in in our various host countries, all of that seems to influence what you would averagely see someone from West Africa, basically with a line of thoughts different from somebody who is from East Africa. So for me, colonization of Africa plays a fundamental role in the mindset of most Africans, before even coming to the various host countries, which now had more influence on the decision making and the acceptance within us as Black people.
Kofi, do you want to add your 2 cents to this?
I hope that you can hear me. Yeah, I definitely want to add my 2 cents to this. I like to simplify things because it makes it easy for me to rationalize my decisions. I see it in 2 ways. There's voluntary migration, and then there's those that were forced to, migrate over to, the diaspora. And I'm talking about slavery particularly. The way that has shaped how Africans generally see and behave towards each other. That matters. And I'll explain why. There's those that grew up in the United States and in other countries like the UK and all that. who knew the story of how their forefathers were brought over, they don't feel like Africa is any part of them. And I'm generalizing this, and I stand to be corrected, okay? So it's not everybody that feels this way. There are people who have indicated themselves and understand that this is where we come from. This is the story. And so we try to align as much as possible. But in my personal opinion, again, this is my opinion, like a small group, there's a group of people that feel that the people like me who come from Africa, who have migrated willingly to this part of the country, are some sort of a different African. We're a different type of African, and they're a different type of African. That for me, and as a starter to the conversation, that for me puts a wedge right there between us and those that migrated and those that live here. Jamaicans, people who live in the UK, people who live in the US, African Americans, and then of course Africans who migrated from Africa, willingly to come over and live here. And so that for me, in answer to your question, already creates the platform for stereotype migrated, if you get what I mean.
Yes, I definitely get what you mean. My brother, that is a good explanation. I really thank you for Tyrone. You've been listening intently. My sister Tuyeni Akange, the master educator, she joined us last minute. You are welcome to the Progressive Mind Show, Tuyeni.
Peace and love, beautiful people. Peace and love. Thank you for welcoming me. I look forward to engaging in this conversation. I really do. Thank y'all.
Thank you. Thank you so much. Now, I would encourage everyone to, help minimize the noise in your background or your surroundings, because it does give us a lot of feedback. And if you're listening with any device, please turn it down and or put it on mute if you can. That will go a long way in helping the discussion this evening. Tyrone, you've been listening. Do you think that historical events added or has abated to the separation of Black people in the diaspora?
Most definitely. I would just like to say, if you would, sister, what's her name, sister? Tuyani?
Tuyeni.
Now, I would just like for her to give her thoughts first before I say what I would have to say.
Okay.
Because she just said, we always get the queens first.
Okay, great.
And right. I don't want to stop that practice. Okay,
all right. Thanks for being the best gentleman on the show, my brother. You are the best. Now, let's say this. We just give you some big ups, bro. No, bro, can you step back a little bit so we can see your whole image? I think you are a little bit close to the camera. If you can step back a little bit. Okay, so Tuyeni, are you? Can we hear your take on the historical events or historical contribution to our separation as Black people in the diaspora?
The work that I do is about going to the roots, okay? So let's go to the root, because we can't start in the middle of history. We have to start at the beginning. First things first is everybody who is a descendant of the diaspora, we have to understand that our ancestors decided that they were going to sell us out. So that's where the disconnect started. It started at home. We have to understand that we were already enslaving our own people. We were already creating a hierarchy amongst humanity in our own homeland. So, of course, other people can come outside of our homeland and do the same thing for us. We are the roots. We started mistreating ourselves, and therefore we are now a product of what has happened. So, let me add to that. So first, that's the root. The root is we sold ourselves out for some idea of power that we would get in connecting to foreign energies, right? Then what ends up happening is that the lack of true critical thinking and the lack of true knowing had us thinking that people in other areas of the world who look like us are actually not part of our bloodline. So we grow up in these institutions that teach us about slavery, but don't teach us about what happens before slavery and the other cultures that we are connected to as a result of the diaspora. So first, the root is we sold ourselves out. And the second part of that is the lack of education and history and literacy being taught with fidelity. So when we can sit down and understand that we all in the same boats and that we are literally just different facets of the same coin, then we'll be able to have a real conversation about what we have to do. The root of it is to heal the trauma. What was our ancestors thinking to believe that we should enslave ourselves? What are we thinking right now to believe that we need to point the finger at individuals from different cultures as opposed to going inwardly and healing these traumas that were created by our ancestors? The trauma is the reason why we continue to perpetuate the disconnect of our cultures. And the lack of our education is the reason why we continue to perpetuate the ignorance. And our victim seat mentality is another reason why we continue to, again, evolve on this hamster wheel of disconnect.
My sister has issued out some powerful punches, and I really, really love it. Before I continue, though, I must say that your kente scarf and your earring is bending. I love it. Right? You're looking very royal, the African queen, and right. Thank you so much for your submission, Kofi. Well, Tyrone, you wanted to add? Would you like to add to what you said?
Yeah.
Okay.
Well, I agree with our magnificent sister. So. Stereotypes started, and from my opinion, even from the cartoon, all these negative images of big lips, bones, this primitive nature of Africa that's displayed throughout the cartoons, movies, Turner Classics, and the likes, from Tarzan to all these different images that has allowed us to be brainwashed as it relates to the diaspora, to our motherland. Once again, sister, and what sister is on point is that the distrust is innate in the fact that Africans have enslaved their own people and sending us to America in this way. And then it's no coincidence that we still function today as tribes and cliques and crews to a point that we kill each other in the hood. So this is a learned behavior that started from our ancestors. So what we see today in the men and the women today, and the misinformation and the disconnect, it's perpetuated and it's continued to take form in the inner cities of these of America. I mean, throughout America and the world. So I would say that y'all see my little puppy son. See. So I would say that television play a huge role. Music play a huge role in the way that we mistreat or misjudge ancestors.
Okay. So Toyeni and Tyrone argument is linking our separation to what transpired many, many years ago, basically saying that Africans, I mean, we are the cause of all of this, that we were doing this to ourselves. We were more treating each other and selling each other. That's a lot of and that's the view, and there's a lot of truth to that. Being an African, saying some of the traditions, and even to date, some of the practices, Trokosi, and all of that. And Kofi, you can attest to that. Now, you being an African, Kofi, do you want to maybe contribute? Maybe add a little bit to what Saeed and Kofi. I don't know if you wanted to contribute to what Toyeni and Tyrone just said.
Yes, I'd like to add something. I do agree to a large extent that we sold ourselves out. It was as much as we want to blame the person that came in and bought the slaves, we participated. But I want to depart, and disagree, if I may use the word, from what they have said. That the two, and I mean Tierney and Tyrone is. Tyrone. It sounds to me like that's the victim mentality we just talked about. That we have to find somebody to blame for why we are where we are. Let me say why I disagree. Because our forefathers, those guys who helped, perpetuate this really, really horrible practice of selling, our own to another person who came and had the money and everything. obviously they didn't go out looking for, somebody to sell to. Somebody had to come to them. And there were reasons, there were economic environments around that time. And I'm not defending their actions, but I'm trying to say that things happened and they have done what they did. Mm-hmm. If we want to move forward and we want to be able to deal with how our race, as a group of people, as Black people, how we can get better, I think that blaming them for what they did at that time doesn't solve anything. Why don't we also put some of the blame on the shoulders of those that, paid out the money, who brought the ships, who created the environment, and who carried the people and who enslaved them for years and years and benefited from that. I saw a documentary quickly, and I'll let you go ahead. I saw a documentary and saw the tokens that were used to buy those slaves. I mean, these were just created. It was like, and I carefully use the word, like a black market trade. They had different artifacts and what they meant and how much they were valued on the market. And forgive my not having the specific terms. But when I watch those things, it hurts. And so for educational purposes, you might want to learn about it, but I try not to dwell on it. And that's my point. We want to move forward. We want to be able to be forward thinking. We understand what happened and we don't feel like victims. We should feel like we have survived this horrific, turn of events in life. And we're looking forward as a people. How can we get together and, build on our race?
Okay. Saeed, you wanted to contribute to that?
Yeah, I'll jump in as well. So I would agree with both that, Kofi as well as my sister and my brother, Tian. Primarily, I did reference colonialism as a major root to all of this. Why? Because, it's funny that the title of your show seems to speak in that direction, which is what I thought is our challenge, from the history of colonization. Will be at some point we stop being progressive set of people. Because when you look at it, when the colonization happened back then, what really was it all about? It was actually offering Africans what they felt they couldn't create by themselves. I mean, when slaves were being sold, what were they being traded for? I mean, we're talking about being traded for drinks. We're talking about being traded for white collar outfits and things like that. So you basically see that as much as, yes, we can actually, challenge the history of most of our old leaders, we should also realize that, certain fundamentals that makes us as Black people at some point became so obsolete. We became too relaxed and too laid back to actually begin to think into the future. Because look at it, before the colonization really happened, what was Africa all about? We're all about progression. We're all about taking territories as well. We're all about expanding our scope, regardless of our culture, which basically puts, most of the citizens listening and yielding to the voice of their leaders. It was always about at least self-improvement, self-development. So I do agree that, yes, we should, know and reference the past, but in the same light, we should know that moving forward, progressiveness is really what we need to embrace as a people. And we, especially in the diaspora, that's what we need to start challenging ourselves more to focus on. Okay. And, building on the past for sure. Thank you.
Tieni is ready to fire back. I was suspecting that.
Nothing coming in.
Just the sister. Now, don't be fooled by her name. If you're watching, she's Tieni Akankwe, a typical African name, maybe in Nigeria. She is full-blown African American. Okay. All right. Go ahead.
I'm Native American. I am of the Choctaw. I'm Choctaw Native American, and I'm also Fulani and Nigerian as well. But yeah, as it relates to culture, I'm super Chicago. You feel me? So let's go back to what y'all saying, because y'all done threw out a few straw man arguments, right? And so, and the reason why I say that is because the question was, what happened historically to bring us here?
Yes, what has contributed to our division per history? And this is, and so you're right. Yes.
Mm-hmm. So I answered the question. Now, right. I do understand and I do believe that, no, we cannot dwell on the past. We cannot dwell on past happened in the past. No, we cannot do that. But what we can do is have a root cause analysis. And until we get into a culture, until we normalize going to the roots, uprooting and replanting, we are not going to grow we're not going to grow from new seeds. We're going to continue to grow from the taint seeds that have been planted by our ancestors. Now, let me let y'all know something. I value each and every one of my ancestors, so this is not said in anger at them. This is not said in judgment of them. This is said in truth. And we have to, as a community, be willing to speak in truth and accept truth, because that's the only way that we're going to move forward. Right. At the end of the day, there were some people who we gotta go back before. Let's go back before slavery happened. We, as Black people, as people of African descent, it is our job to put the soul back on the planet. That's our job. So at some point, we stopped doing that and we became more physical than we were spiritual beings. So I'm coming to y'all, yes, from a historical perspective, but really this is all spiritual. What we have to understand is that there was a streaming of spiritual energy and faith and connectedness to our God that we let go of. And as a result, we are where we are.
Okay.
Until we accept that fact, we're going to continue to toil in disagreement or rebuttal of the points that we make. But the root of this is that we are all spirits having a human experience. And we got to be honest about what spiritual energy impacted our human experience. And that was that thing. Somebody let go of their God-body power. And now we got to walk and get back to that God-body power because our ancestors gave it up.
Okay. So, Tierney, if I'm understanding you, the part of the reason for our separation as Black people in the diaspora, from your submission, is that we give up our spirituality. We were involved in selling ourselves back then, and as a result, we are here. Okay, so those are established facts by you, and there are literature, a lot of literature out there supporting what you're saying. But to my other brothers too, is that right now we're thinking of how we just want to understand some of the things that caused why we're here. So understanding that is very good. Knowing that is very good. But I think that we have to be careful not to dwell on it. But Brother Tyrone, go ahead.
You know, one thing I've learned from the Jewish community is that you can be a victim and be strong as well. It's like you're gonna tell a woman that's been raped, that's been robbed, that's been beaten, not to play victim. See, even though she's strong, that she still was a victim of rape. She still was a victim of abuse, but that don't make her not strong. That don't make her not focus on the issues that even caused the rape or could potentially cause the rape. And then all I'm saying is that sometimes we as a people, we take victim as negative. See, where there's a victim, there's also a community of people and persons and land and nation that ought to heal those individuals from the issues of our ancestors. So I don't see it as victim blaming, or when you're blaming the victim, blaming everyone. That's why, you know me, Sina, I started ex-community and social change because I wanted to be progressive in the way that we deal with the ills that has caused other people to live off of our dead flesh. Because Black death is a hustle, Black bodies is a hustle, and it has been a hustle since our ancestry. Since our ancestors sold us into slavery. So Black death has always been a hustle. Free labor has always been a hustle. So it's not victim, it's not playing victim, it's pointing out a real issue in order, like the sisters say, into how can we expect the fruit to bear good seeds when the roots are poison, when the roots fail to take hold. I find it very disingenuous and rather hypocritical that the African diaspora would talk about how the white man village robbed the land, do all the things necessary to continue to perpetuate theft in our native lands, our Africa, but yet fail to acknowledge that there's a people that need to be made whole as a result of what our ancestors did. But yet we hold the white man accountable for what he's doing and has done and continue to do. So we got to, if we can acknowledge it on the grand scale, we have to acknowledge it amongst ourselves that we've been the biggest hypocrites to our own rise and our own fall.
Deidre.
Yeah, so I definitely agree that we definitely have to address the roots which took place before we left the continent. And I think that's a very important piece of the discussion that is oftentimes left out when we have these kind of debates and discussions. But I think another important factor to consider how the slave owners were able to gain control over the slaves and their minds and their bodies. And as we know, it was a very strategic way in which they broke the slaves and they destroyed the family and they destroyed the community. And as you said, we should not dwell upon, this victimhood, but it is a very important part of the discussion. And I think it's also very integral part of what's causing us to be divided, right? So you have like the Willie Lynch letter, which was created to teach slave owners how to gain control of their slaves. So he would basically teach them how to use distrust and fear and anger, all these different feelings and emotions, stirring that within the slaves to get them to be divided. He's old against the young, the woman against the man, the light against the dark, even down to the very texture of the slave's hair, using these physical attributes to divide us. And then also beyond the personal level, going to the family, thinking of the ways in which they strategically tried to divide the woman and the man slave and to use this division as a way to gain control over their children and their physical bodies. So I think these are all very important factors to consider when we think about why we are divided, why we don't trust each other, why we're continuously plagued with these issues of colorism and texturism when it comes to hair. These are issues that were strategically created to divide and conquer us.
I think, Natalia.
In what happened in the US compared to what actually happened in the Caribbean. One thing about Jamaican is that always have and maintain our African culture. As you guys probably know or probably do not know, in Jamaica we have the Maroons, which came from back in slavery. We maintain that roots up until today. We were taught, we know about our culture. This is something that we all know. In Jamaica, you have what they call the Maroon land, which is a sacred area that they're under their own laws and religion and everything. They maintain the Ashanti tribe. Everything that happens from Africa back to Jamaica, we still maintain that. So we have a strong sense of our culture. So we're the type of people that you would say are not as I'm going to say not as lost as Americans, because we maintain that. And also, when Marcus Garvey came to the United States and said to the slaves in America, the Caribbean is free. We are free people. He did everything to educate these people that they're free. And he also went ahead and say, Africa is for Africans. Let's see how we can go back to our roots.
Wow. Okay. So that is Natalia's submission as well. Great inputs. All right. I think the plane is about to take off. We were just, we're about to actually do the real thing. But let's recognize people who have some of the folks that have joined us on Facebook and on YouTube. We have Chaziti Aswit Nava Freeman says his history say in 300 years slavery would make themselves. It's 300 years from date. Okay, thank you for your comment. John Opes says, always great to meet my brothers and sisters here. Thank you, John, for chiming in. Bartholomew Shekbon says the hierarchy of power is everywhere, not just in Africa. Rebecca Mode says, thank you so much, Pastor Mayor, for tuning in. God bless you. Isaac Amaya is here. Pastor Amaya, thank you for tuning in. God bless you so much. I hope you are sharing the feed whilst you were watching us so we can spread, get this word out there and get a lot of participation, because this is what we need as Black people. We need to have these hard conversations. It's good for our healing. Bartholomew again says, I vehemently disagree with Akange. What history is she talking about? Okay, so maybe she can respond to that. All right, so that's for our Facebook audience, Facebook and YouTube audience. Let's try and get. I know that what's his name? Akange was one. Atuyeni wanted to contribute to the point that was already made, but your screen, Tuyeni, I don't know what happened to it. If you want to turn in landscape, you might want to touch on you might want to rotate your phone first. Great. Okay. I think it's back now. Well, it's 6:48 p.m. here in the studios of the Progressive Minds. We are in Chicago. My name is Sena, aka Alinco. We're live every Wednesday from 6 to 8 p.m., engaging you and I in discussions such as these. So my sister is back. Okay, let's hear from Tuyeni what she has to say. But whilst you're watching, please help share the feed. I see that Rebecca has shared it. I haven't seen Pastor Maya. I haven't seen Charity sent it. John, you haven't shared it yet. So please go ahead and share it. Tuyeni, go ahead and make your point.
I was trying to share the video, so if you can check to see if I shared the video, that would be helpful. But let's talk about. I'm so happy that we've gotten into this conversation around culture. And we've gotten into this conversation, and sis, you said the word lost as it relates to African American peoples. What we have to understand is that African American people do have a culture. Okay. My ancestors, who now are dwelled within me, my grandmama, my great aunt just died Sunday. We have a culture. And our culture is by way of handing down information by word of mouth. My father is one of the most wisest people in my family. So he carries a lot of the wisdom of our family. We have a culture, we have food, we have customs and traditions, we have music. Come on now, hip hop is one of the most influential types of music in the world. That came from us.
No. So that came from Jamaica. Always remember the founder of hip hop was actually. No, we got to get because this is the problem with our people. Wait. You're not going to tell me that.
Wait. I'm sorry. Tuyeni, I apologize for the interjection of Natalia. She didn't mean to do that. I think it's the conversation is getting very interesting, more interesting. So I think she got carried away. She was excited. But please go ahead. She made a point about loss, which you were responding to. So go ahead and respond. And please, ladies and gentlemen, this is why we're here. We want to have an open conversation. Let's wait for our turn and let's rebut accordingly and let's not get emotions get out of the way or get in the way. Let's not let emotions get in the way. That's what I wanted to say. But please, my sister Tuyeni, go ahead.
Ashay, I'm very passionate, and this is something that I've been wanting to talk about. Now, first, let me say Jamaica is one of my favorite places in the world. So let's go there. I love Jamaica. Right. One of the things that we have to understand about Black people is that there's always you ain't Black enough, or you ain't got your, or you ain't got your. As African Americans, we constantly have to defend our identity against our own people. We constantly have to defend our credibility against individuals who carry our same blood. Your wind and your hips don't make you more found than me because I do the butterfly. And what we have to understand is that as African American people, yes, I'm Fulani. I come from the group of people who are medicine people. I come from the group of people who are herders, who take care of animals, who eat from the land, right? And I am African American. I know that about my African tradition. I know that as an African American from the Smith family, from the Choctaw Native American tribe, that we are also medicine people, right? It took me doing some more research to do that. I feel like a lot of Native Africans from the Caribbean Y'all constantly get your culture taught to you all. You constantly have, things happening in education, right? Your teachers may look like you and things of that nature. In America, we have to literally continue to fight mental slavery every day, all day, and thrive. So don't tell me we ain't got no culture. Don't tell me we lost when we continue to thrive in the midst of the circumstances that try to kill us and beat us down. One of the things that I wish you would say is, you know what, sis? I see what's happening over there in America. And I see how, as a Jamaican, I can help to enrich what's happening with you, my sister. What I can see is now, it's not that you lost. I can see that y'all have a culture, but I can see that just like Jamaicans, we got some trauma healing that we have to do. And ultimately, everybody got to heal traumas, no matter what culture you are from. And I would like to tell everybody who has a country that they can point back to, because African Americans can't necessarily point back to a country. I had to do my research to point back to my tribe. I had to do my research to point back to where my people are from. You have to understand that that's a profound part of our identity, where there is a mass community of African Americans now going to do their research. Well, y'all necessarily, you could be a little bit complacent because you ain't have to do the level of research that we had to do. I want you to think about how each culture had to develop itself. I want you to think about how each body of people had to survive when we were erased from what is true to us.
Okay.
Think about that. And it's important that we honor each other and we honor the journeys that we on. For real. That's for real.
It is for real. It is so much for real. And I have something to say, but anybody else who wants to contribute to what Tuyeni said, I don't know if we lost Tyrone. I think we're trying to see if we can get Tyrone back. But anybody want to contribute to Tuyeni? Okay.
I'm sorry, you go.
Okay, so I think Natalia wanted to interject, but Saeed, you haven't spoken in a little while. So go ahead, respond, and then we can come to Natalia and then Kofi.
Right. Thanks. So Tuyeni, I think, pretty much the focus of referencing this country is not basically, having to be free-minded Africans, deny the reality that African Americans have. Just the same thing, I identify with every single reality they've gone through, big brothers and sisters. I'm also, eager to inform them that,
guys, I'm sorry.
Say, for example,
hold on, we can barely hear you, and I think it's because of background noise from some folks. So please, ladies and gentlemen, please help us minimize the noise. Go ahead, Saeed. Go ahead.
Okay, can everyone hear me clearly now?
Yes, we can.
Gotcha. Okay, so my reference is, it isn't as though, free migrant Africans are not recognizing and identifying with the reality and the culture, the place within the African American community. But at the same time, it's also important to understand that even, within Africa itself, we've got diverse cultures, which obviously even puts the free migrant Africans who are still trying to even understand and learn each other's culture. So in coming to play about the history, okay, like I said earlier, it's, we cannot overrule the fact that everyone who's actually coming already have a mindset of, how their lifestyle has been and how things play out. Now, when you consider what the new age or what the new phase of life is, let's not deny reality here. Every individual is basically leaving to expand their horizon and also improve on their life. When that comes into play, it literally relegates culture almost to the back, because then the instinct of survival is actually what comes forward. But in the truth of us being able to advance and move this forward, of course, we have to embrace the part of knowledge, the part of history, and the part of actually focusing and embracing how we collectively can come to terms with, yes, we know that's the culture. We accept that culture. But, in moving forward, how do we nurse empowering you more? Just like, she said, how can we empower you more to be able to, share this information in such a way that it's really not coming out as being, defensive or outrightly, upset about the reality that, that is now playing out in the today, because between the past and the now is a very thin line that we have to always focus on as we, share all of this information. That's just, the point I was wondering. Yeah.
Okay, thank you. If you want to call into this show after 7 p.m., you can do that. It's 815-277-5047. Please feel free to call in and contribute to what we're discussing today. It is the convo, the Diaspora Convo. It is a much needed conversation, and there couldn't have been a better time to engage. We have been trying for the past years to be calling for this type of dialogue openly. And I feel like the season has come for us to take it to a new heights. This year, a lot of things happened, from George Floyd to a whole bunch of situations. We would have the opportunity. I would like to address that. But Natalia, you wanted to make a point. Go ahead, and then we'll take a short break when it's 7 p.m.
I'm kind of happy what Sahid said about the cultural aspect, where that's your culture and, you respect that culture and move on. And I want to put out there that hip hop was founded by DJ Kool Herc, which is a Jamaican. And that comes back to accepting and respecting one culture. We're happy to share that with you guys so that you now have hip hop. So I had to put that out there. You guys can move on.
Okay.
See, and that's the problem.
Okay. Okay.
That's the problem. There is no competition.
It's not a competition. It's acceptance, appreciation.
Okay.
And admit to it. You said we did not. And I'm giving you the facts behind it. So give unto Caesar what is due to Caesar. Don't say no when you know it is.
Okay, wait.
I don't argue with you.
It's not arguing. It's facts.
Okay. Natalia, I know that there is. Look at our skin, man. We're the same color. Okay, we're one people. Even within our own nucleus family, we have, you could be twins or triplets, but still have different traits. And sometimes you bump heads. You say, hey, that green socks is mine. You say, hey, no, yours is supposed to be blue, so we may get into all of that. So viewers, this is a sibling kind of, tete-a-tete. This is no fight in here, right? We're doing a rivalry, sibling rivalry kind of situation. It ain't no sibling rivalry. No, I don't agree with that. No, Tiani, can I please land?
Go ahead. I'm gonna mute my mic.
No, I am, in my opinion, this is a sibling rivalry situation. That's fine. When you get your turn, you can dispute that. But I'm hoping that in the spirit of togetherness, again, you may get into it with your sibling, but then when Thanksgiving come, when that day when all the family had to come together and party and laugh, we all come together. It does not mean that there's no friction between us. All I'm saying is that let's just be circumspect so that the passion and emotion does not get ahead of the real conversation that needs to be had. I am glad that we can have an open conversation about our differences. But you see, what I hope is not going to happen is that, no, that is not yours, that is not mine. Whoever invented hip hop, that person is Black. You'll be surprised. For all you know, his ancestry or his ancestors, for all you know, we all might share that person's ancestors, right? If you get down to the roots of it, for all you know, it may be my great-great-great-grandfather, and that great-great-grandfather's brother could be your great-great-grandfather. So it's all connected. The person is Black anyway. So it doesn't matter if the person came from Jamaica or came from Africa or came from African America. Somebody invented hip hop, and that person happened to be Black. Now, at the point he invented it, he may have been within the African American community, or maybe situated in what you call Jamaica or in the Caribbean. It's all good. It's all good. We claim the person is Black. We understand that. So we can claim all the claiming, but the goal for this evening is that identifying the things that have kept us apart. And so as we are identifying, we should try and stay on there and not make it personal. And that's all I wanted to say. It's 7 p.m. I know Tuyeni wanted to respond. Kofi, you wanted to respond as well. We'll take a short break. When we come back, I'll let Tuyeni respond, and then Kofi, you can get your turn. Okay, Tuyeni, is that fair? Okay. I'm sorry. I think your mic was off. Sorry about that.
It's good.
Okay, great. We still haven't been able to connect my brother Tyrone. I don't know what's happening to his system, but we will see if we can get to it.
It must have been the sunset. Ooh, the summer sunset. It's summertime and I'm in my prime. It feels nice outside, so dance, baby girl, just dance. Louis bag in your hand, you don't need no man. You just need your feet and toes in between the sand. Get your tan on, girl, get your tan on. I'm looking like, damn, can I mess with your plan? I'm a fan. I'm gazing at her lakeshore eyes, her Colgate smile. It's summertime. The summer sunset. It must have been the sunset. So DJ spin the last song, 'cause I love the way you roll it so slow, and I'm holding, won't let you go. Just keep rolling so slow, 'cause I don't know what it is this time.
Welcome to the Progressive Mind Show. It is very hot here in our studios. Today, we are talking about the diaspora conversation. This is the part one. Watch out for more of this, all right? We're just scrapping the face of this. And so, indulge us. If you want to contribute, the number is 815-277-5047, 815-277-5047. What has been the reason for the division of Black people in the diaspora? And we're trying to get into the roots of it. Deidre Coleman, Kofi Jakwe, Saeed Adeleye, Natalia Stevenson. I'm not saying Natalia Stevenson is from the Caribbean community. She's Jamaican, and Saeed is Nigerian American. Kofi is Ghanaian American. Deidre is African American. Tuyene is African American. Tyrone, we had him on the show earlier, but for some reason we're not able to get him back. We're trying to see if we can still get Tyrone. And all right, so Kofi, Tuyeni, we were waiting on you to make a point. If you're ready, please go ahead, and then Kofi can have your turn too. Now, before you do that, if you're watching us on Facebook, please go ahead and share the feed now, all right? And for my guests too, you can go ahead and share it. Your friends can watch and follow what we're doing. There are so many comments on the feed. We are also on YouTube. Go ahead and share it now. We have a call coming in. Let's try and take this call. Let's try and take this call to you, if you don't mind, and then we can come to you. Caller, please tell us your name and why you're calling.
Why, hi. Good evening. My name is Bart Shepkong. Actually, I am really enjoying the conversation, but I feel that I really need to call to contribute.
Okay.
And especially, I really want to challenge Tuyeni because I listened to her history, the history lesson she was trying to give us, and whatever she was trying to say about, we Africans, so our ancestors selling ourselves, something in regard to that.
Right.
So my thing is, in my own opinion, first of all, we need to really deconstruct that narrative, because I think it's a common narrative among African Americans, and that Africans actually sold them to slavery. So, and the second point I really want to make is, when we talk about trauma, I think we, especially Africans and African Americans, tend to forget the extent of trauma that colonization has inflicted on us. So when we talk about these things, let us look at it holistically. Let us just not look at it from just one perspective. Yeah, you have to ask yourself, how did the colonial master got into the African continent in the first place? The last thing I really want to leave you with, I am going to suggest that you watch The Journey of an African Colony. It's on Netflix. Maybe that will shed more light to this conversation that we're having. But otherwise, it's been a great conversation, and I'm really enjoying it. Thank you.
My brother, thank you so much for your contribution. You make our community a better place. We appreciate it. The number to call is 815-277. Looks like we have another call coming in. Caller, can you please tell us your name and why you're calling?
Hello, can you hear me?
Yes, we can hear you. Please tell us your name and why you're calling to the show today.
Yes, my name is John Oben AP. I'm calling from Texas.
Okay, go ahead, please.
Yeah, sure. I'm just calling. This is a very interesting conversation, and I'm very, very glad that we can have this conversation in this generation. I was a little bit furious and very, very disappointed when I watched and listened to my sisters, standing on the same foundation that has kept us where we are today.
Which sister are you talking about? Which sister are you talking about?
I'm talking about Sister
Natalia. Okay.
Natalia and
Tuyeni. Okay.
Tuyeni. Mm-hmm. So this is the status quo. This is what has happened to our lives here in the United States. I just want to remind all of us, just like the previous speaker said, those of us from Africa, we have also experienced this trauma of colonialism. Not only colonialism, I stand here knowing very well that my grandparents or great-grandparents were sold. And if you know what it means, their families that were left behind, meaning that the fellow brothers and sisters were sold and they will never see them. That was traumatic enough.
Right.
So it is time for us to move past this whole thing. Mm-hmm. It is time for us to work together. I have had to present on at least 2 occasions where we're talking about a divide between Africans and African Americans. It is all based on the perspective that we work with each other. I really, really wish that we'll find common grounds to move on. Marcus Garvey did not stand for African Americans alone. He stood for Africans. Bob Marley sang all the songs. The center of all the songs were the injustice on Africans. It was not all on African Americans or Jamaicans. The center was Africa. Today we have Dr. Arikana moving from one part of the world to the other, preaching about unity. This is what we are supposed to be focused on.
Right.
Let's leave these things behind. It is history that we should learn and we should uphold, but it is also opportunity that we should learn. We should move forward. We should move ahead. We should get along with each other. We should find common grounds. How do we go from here? Thank you.
Thank you so much, my brother. You make our community a better place. We really, really appreciate you. Well, so Tuyeni, please go ahead. You were going to make a point before the call came through.
I'm actually happy that the calls came through because it's very clear that people are not completely listening to me. Okay. It's very clear. So from the time that I came on here, and I'm going to be clear, I talked about root cause analysis.
Right.
That's what I was talking about. I was talking about the trauma and the spiritual work that has to be done in this community. And what happened, what the audience experienced was a representation of the exact spiritual elements that got us to where we are. It is for us to be in our homeland and for one leader to say, I am going to enslave you and you're going to have to pay a debt to me because I'm here and I'm there. We had all these different tribes and different cultures who were butting heads, right? Whether or not it was African American or the Jamaican who whatever, we still experiencing poverty. We're still, if we show up in America in a car and somebody comes and a cop comes to our door, we're going to be blackety black to whoever comes to the door. So what I've said from the beginning is I wish that instead of telling me that African Americans are lost, instead of there being a judgment or you trying to tell me, just how culturally enriched the Jamaican is, right? I said, talk to me about how your culture can then help to enrich mine because we come from the same blood. And so ultimately, I'm not here to have a conversation defending my perspective. I'm here having a conversation defending the life of people who share the blood that I share. I'm here having a conversation about how it's easy for you to sit back and watch the African American experience. But until you have lived the African American experience, until you have understood the African American experience and then work to love the African American unconditionally, that's when you're going to realize what it really all is. I feel like this conversation is a bit biased, to be honest, and I'm going to be honest with you, because who all here is native to America, number one? And how many of the callers who just called in were native to America? We have to understand our bias. I have my own bias because I'm from America. And I also have my own bias because I am not just African American. I am Choctaw Native American. I am Fulani. I wasn't even given my credit for being African. To the host, you were saying, Tiani, her name looks African, things of that nature, but she is full blood African American. No, I'm Fulani and I'm Nigerian.
Okay.
And I'm Choctaw Native American. Okay. So until Native people from Native lands can honor that I have a culture and that I am you and I am a reflection of you, we're going to continue to be on this hamster wheel until we're able to really hear one another. Right. You know what? I'm going to go and do the research on hip hop because I don't want to be around here saying that it was just the African American who started it, but it was a combination of African American and Jamaican culture. And I said what I said.
Exactly. We'll split it. Hip hop was initiated or started by an African American and a Caribbean. How about that? They came together.
Why are you trying to come back and rebut? I don't want to fight you, sis, because I'm throwing these hands for
look. I'm sure we share our culture with everyone. Yeah. I mean, Bob Marley is a total representation of us. Right. We love everyone. Bob Marley taught us so much about Africa. And that's why we appreciate Africa so much, because we know our history. We were taught these stuff, so we know. So we're happy, more than happy to share it with the world. So no, sorry if any offense there should be none, because we love everyone.
Okay, so Kofi, you were going to make a point. Please go ahead. And I don't know if Deidre, let me know. Okay.
Yes, I'd love for Deidre to go because she hasn't said a lot about this and she's just been smiling whilst we go through this. But
okay,
yeah, sorry.
Ready? Go ahead. Deidre, are you ready to? Deidre, are you ready?
Deidre, you ready to go? Yes, please.
Yes. Sure. Thank you, Kofi. I just wanted to respond because, yes, I mean, I identify as African American. I've never done an ancestry test, so I have no idea where my roots are. Oftentimes I'm approached, by Africans who say, oh, are you Nigerian? Are you Kenyan? They want to know, what the connection is. And when I say I don't know, then I usually feel that disconnect. Like they kind of take a step back and they're like, okay, she's just African American. So the connection doesn't exist. So there's no reason to make any further effort, right, to make this connection. So I've experienced that as an African American, and also that, misconception that we don't have culture, or the culture we have is less than, or the negative associations with culture that's perpetuated by the media or the news, the stereotypes that exist about our culture. So I think there is like this idea that we have a culture, right? People accept that, but there are a lot of negative associations with our culture. And we're oftentimes seen as like dejected, vulnerable, like less than. And a lot of that, we've discussed the historical roots of those misconceptions. So I think a very important, part that our sister is contributing to this conversation is that we have culture. And a lot of the culture is deeply rooted in what our ancestors brought with them when they left the continent and they came to this country. When you look at many of our cultural traditions, you can still see traces of Africa and African culture, and even the language is embedded within the culture and the language that we have in the States. So I think it is very important to acknowledge that we do indeed have a culture and we are connected. We have the same roots, and that this is really what we need to get at. This is the source of the disconnect, and it has to be addressed before we can move forward collectively as a people.
Thank you. Kofi.
Oh yeah, finally, I do get to say something. Okay, so, all I want to tell you is, Senna, the conversation so far emphasizes why this conversation is necessary. The way it's gone so far tells you how important it is that we should be having this conversation. And here's the way I'm looking at it. The lines are clearly drawn. I'm sure I'm not the only one that's seeing it, where people are looking at things from different perspectives, and rightly so, because that is your experience shapes you. What you know shapes you. So I can understand Tuyeni to a large extent, expressing the frustration and, for lack of a better word, what she feels people think of the African American community. And I can understand Natalia because she is coming from a very rich background where she thinks that people underestimate what they have to offer. What about us Africans who have migrated here, who Tuyeni calls it native Africans? The caller just told you, we also feel marginalized. First of all, we had to go through the trauma of colonialism. In my personal opinion, and I know people are going to bash me for this, but my people have been subdued mentally as a result of years and years of colonialism. That's a big thing to walk around in life with. People say, where I come from in Ghana, they say, oh, we're one of the most hospitable countries, because people don't speak up. They see white people, they see foreigners, and they're happy to welcome you. They don't even tell you if you're doing something that's wrong. I've just described 3 different perspectives, right? It is why we're having this conversation. And so if we want to bridge this gap, if we want to begin to appreciate why, my African-American sister says what she says, and why my Caribbean sister thinks what she thinks, and why my Nigerian brother still has a jollof beef with me, I need to be able to understand where they are coming from. And you have to make that overture. You need to be able to stop and listen carefully to what the other person's experience has been. And so to be specific, Tuyeni, and I'm coming to you because you have been one of the strong voices in this conversation. People, despite what you think, people or Native Africans understand what African Americans have gone through. I don't know whether you're going to believe that or not, but I can tell you, I wouldn't like to be in that position where, my ancestors were brought over and I can't, like you said, you can't point a finger to where you come from. As bad economically as where we come from is, and all the problems that, Africa has, there are a lot of benefits to it. And what I would suggest is that instead of people taking that high road in quotes and saying that, oh, I'm here and I'm stuck here and I have this culture and you think I don't have it. I think it's a lot of it is defensive. You take that position because you think people are saying things but have you actually tried to cross the road to the other side and listen to the other person and understand why they feel the way they feel? We both need to be able to put our defenses down. That's all I'm trying to say. Everybody just, whatever you knew before you came onto the show, maybe this is an opportunity to start listening to each other. That's what I have to say. Senna, do we have you? Yes, I don't know if Senna still has the controls, but I think that if he does, he would know. Dedra, can you hear me?
Yes, I can.
Okay, so I guess you understand what I'm trying to say here. We have a lot of us have taken this entrenched position where we assume what we know about each other, and then based on that, we stereotype them, and that's the whole conversation, the stereotyping. So as much as we do love you guys as fellow Black people, and I at the risk of sounding racist, I would trust you first over somebody else that looks like another person. I would give you a chance, and I'm sure we'll go to the conversation about how we'll be able to bridge this gap and go to the next level of helping each other, because we need to be able to start giving each other a chance. Before I judge you, I need to be able to listen to you. I need to be able to hear your story and your exposure, then we'll be able to bridge that gap.
Right.
So looks like we have it back.
Yeah. Well, I'm sorry. I'm having technical issues here. I think the heat of the discussion is
getting to you.
Yeah, it's getting to me.
He's burning up.
It's burning up my system. All my things are more functioning, and so it's all good. But somebody was going to make a point. Tuyeni, you wanted to respond to what he said.
Can you all hear me?
Yes, we can. Yes, we can.
This is another thing. Like, I refuse to defend the first thing everybody is saying, because I'm a very passionate being, right? The first thing you're saying is you're talking about my frustration without hearing the content of what I'm saying. Let me tell you something. The work that I do in this world is going to heal every ailment that my life was meant to heal on this planet. I'm not worried about that. So regardless of if everybody on this call agrees with my perspective of it or not, the work that I'm meant to do in this world is still going to get done, right? And so I am not, it's interesting, right? You're not hearing me. It's like we're constantly going back and forth with my fire as opposed to listening to what I'm saying. The solution that I'm proposing is trauma healing. The solution that I'm proposing is going inside self, so then we can all unify. I love the many different facets of the African. I love my sister right now currently lives in Ghana, and I'm working on building a non-for-profit organization in Ghana right now. I have an array of Native African friends who are here. I graduated from Howard University, which is the #1 African-American institution in the country. I am well aware of my history. I am well aware of the impact of every single African culture in the world on my life and on the world. And so at the end of the day, you all have to understand, right? When we talk about understanding why I'm saying the things that I'm saying, even with the language that you all have been using tonight, it has been a bit condescending and belittling, but you don't mean to. And what you have to understand is that as an African American, I have experienced that condescension my entire life. I write my poetry about it. I have conversations in prose about it. I have these types of conversations all the time about it. And what we have to understand is that I would love to have a conversation about people who come from different African cultures outside of the African American culture, being honest about what biases that you believe that you continue to kind of like subconsciously speak within. Because in America, we constantly have to do that. I constantly have to be mindful to not be condescending or offensive towards my Native African brothers and sisters who are not necessarily direct descendants of slavery, right? So it's interesting, this conversation that we're having, because I feel like it's biased. I feel like no one is really hearing me. And that's okay, because the people who must hear me will. But at the end of the day, I am a life coach. Y'all understand? And I am fire upon fire. I coach people how to get to their traumas, heal them, and move forward. And what I will not allow myself to do is to take energy that is not for me. I'm going to send that right back to the energy with which sent it to me.